Hello everyone, welcome to my channel again. As you can see, we have some changes in here. First of all, we have a layout change. Why? Because I found out that I can just do this, and there's really no rules to how you record your videos, and I love being in my bed. So now we're just gonna be in my bed all the time, maybe, I think. And I was really sad because I thought, if I'm in my bed, you're not gonna be able to see my posters. And I love that in my other layout you could see my posters because they're so cool and they're really present in such an efficient way what is in my mind. But you can actually see them still. I mean, they're kind of warped and they're upside down, but you can see them, so it's okay. And the other change is that I now have a microphone. Look at it, it's so big. That's what she said. Yeah. I thought it was going to be a lot smaller. That's what she said. But no, it's pretty big. That's what she said. I got it because I hate having to speak really loud and having to force my voice. And already I feel pretty tired. My tongue feels very heavy when I'm recording my videos, and on top of having to speak English, which is not my first language clearly, I also have to speak louder than I usually am so that the phone or the camera or whatever I'm recording on can pick up the sound. And also because I live in apartments, because I live in an apartment, I feel very bad about speaking too loud because then the people that live next to me are gonna hear, and I really don't want them to listen to what I'm saying. But now it's okay because I have a microphone. I hope this is gonna come out nice and not horrible because I have already tapped it many times, and this is not a very good position to be using a microphone in, but we'll see. If it doesn't turn out right, then it's okay. This is just for fun, so it's okay. Today's video is one that I have been waiting to do for 2 weeks because I was waiting for the microphone, and it is all the books that I binge read in 2025. I know we are in the later half of February right now, but I don't care. I'm still gonna talk about 2025 because I have only read 3 or 4 books this year as of right now. So we have to talk about last year, okay? And also I read some pretty amazing life-changing books last year. So we're gonna talk about them. And the first one that I read was this one right here. It was American Psycho. And when I move out of this apartment, all of the books that I have, I'm gonna donate them to a used books library because I cannot sell them, and I also cannot gift them because I took out some pages. And also I love annotating on my books, so all of my books have notes in them, and I'm not one of those scared people that put little what are they called? The do you know the color phones? The colorful little sticky notes. Is that what they're called? Sticky notes? Maybe. Yeah, I don't put sticky notes on my books. I just write on them. And I just highlight stuff. And I love it. It's so much fun than using another piece of paper. And also, I think it gives it a lot more life. So that's what I do. And for this one, I have a lot of that. And I also took out some pages. I took out the card scene, when they're all showing each other's business cards, because I thought it was funny, and I used it for journaling. So that's missing in here, and I'm really sorry about that to whoever has this next. But yeah, I read this. It was a little bit hard to get into it at first, but later it was really easy, and I was really entertaining, because not because the writing style is hard or they use really big words. No, it's because every time that this man meets someone, he has to describe their outfit in full detail. And he meets people like in every page. So every time he's like, this guy was wearing like a Christian Dior suit with an Hermes tie and like blah blah blah. But it's not like he doesn't just say what the piece of clothing is and the brand. He like really describes it. Like there's pages and pages and pages of just clothes description. And last year when I read it, I really hated my degree. And if you don't know, I'm studying fashion design. Right now I love it again. But last year I was going through a really hard time with fashion design and I really hated it. I really wanted like to not think about it at all. So then I started reading this and it's so much about clothing. I was like, oh my god, shut up. But then after, I was actually quite entertained, and I think I learned a lot from his outfit descriptions. Like, I had no idea. I don't know why I remember this so well. Probably because it's kind of stupid. But I didn't know heels, when they have like the shape like this, you know, I'm gonna put a picture in there somewhere. When they have shapes like that, they're called those I don't know how to pronounce this. They're called heels d'Orsay, like the Musée d'Orsay. Yeah, which is pretty interesting. I learned a lot of things like that. And yeah, it was a pretty good book. It's definitely way more graphic than the movie, because I watched the movie like a couple of times and I really like it. So I was really excited to read this. But there's one scene that definitely traumatized me. I'm not gonna describe it because it's really, really disgusting. But it's one where there is a rat and there's cheese. That's all I'm gonna say. If you have read this, you definitely know what I'm talking about. And it's so horrible. I could not believe it when I read it. It was horrible. The next book that I read, I'm gonna put this in here. It's gonna serve as like the core. The next book I read was Sex and the City. Yes. Anyone who knows me knows that I love, with all of my heart, I love Carrie Bradshaw. Carrie Bradshaw was actually like the love of my life, and she is me, and I love me, so of course she's the love of my life. Okay, I do not stand for Carrie Bradshaw hate because I love her. So I read this, and you know, it's pretty different from the book. The main characters are not really main characters in this, and their friendship is a very big part in the series, but in the book it's not that big. Like, it's, they're friends, but you know, it's not like in the TV show. The main thing in here is Big and Carrie's relationship, and I'm gonna say something that I don't know if this is a hot take, actually. I don't know, but I think the series should have been like this, like the book, because a lot of people don't know this, because, you know, the TV show is pretty big, like, it's really, really famous, and it has kind of like a cult following, but most of the people that have watched the TV show haven't read the book, which makes sense, because they're really not that similar. But in the book, and this is a spoiler for the book, if you are going to read it, or if you just don't want to listen to the spoilers, skip to this time that I'm going to put here. Okay, so in the book, Carrie and Big, you know, they have a pretty on and off relationship, just like in the series, but in the series it's for like 6 years, and they act like they're actually soulmates that just can't be together because they're stupid. In here, they're kind of just like a little bit pettier, I think they really just like don't care enough to leave, and also don't care enough to stay. So it's like, yeah, it's more like about casual love in New York and their complications, like the complications of relationships in New York. It's not really that much about soulmates and true love and, yeah, all that stuff that happens in the series. And then at the end, I really like the way it ends, because for some reason in the TV show, Carrie is like the one that wants to settle down with Big, most of the time, and Big is the one that doesn't want to. But in here, Carrie also doesn't really want to have one partner for the rest of her life, and she doesn't want to just stay with Big. So in here, by the end of the book, Big is like, he wants to stay alive, he wants to get married, blah blah blah. Carrie doesn't really want that, so they just break up. And there's like a time skip. I think I read this in like the start of the year last year, so if I'm getting anything wrong, it's because it's been a while. Okay, yeah. So then there's a little time skip, and it says like Big got married to someone else, and he lived like his stable life that he wanted, and Carrie never got into a long-term relationship because she didn't want to, and they were both really happy at the end. And I love that, because I am in that same mindset right now. Like, I really don't want to be in a relationship ever again, and I don't see myself in a long-term relationship. I've never even been in a long-term relationship. I've been in like 4, 5, 6 month relationships. I think 6 months is the longest I've ever stayed. But I don't see myself going to like a year with someone. That's crazy for me. And I love that Carrie is like that as well in here, because there is something that happens to me with Sex and the City. I don't know if this happens to anyone else. Probably, because, you know, that's why it's so big. I feel like every single episode and movie and season and the book now finds me whenever I need it, and whenever I'm going through a similar thing. And it was especially crazy when the last season of And Just Like That, which is the series that comes after Sex and the City, came out, because I was going through like the exact same situation that Carrie was on with Aiden when it was coming out. You know, there was an episode each week coming out, and each week the same thing that was happening in my life would happen to Carrie and Aiden. And then I actually went through a breakup like a week before the last episode. And I was like, wait, but like, you have to wait, because I don't know what's gonna happen and Just Like That. Maybe like, what if we stray from the script? We can't do this. Like, that's not allowed, because for some reason my life is just exactly the same as Carrie's at the moment. What if they actually stay together and we don't, and then it's like there's a difference there? So I was actually really worried about that. But then the next week came and they didn't end up together, so I was like, oh, okay, so we were right. Yay. But yeah, it was a pretty great book. I really liked it. Again, it's really not similar to the show, but it's really good. And I found it very inspiring, you know, on love. Topics about love. Yeah. Okay, so next book. This one, I don't remember. No, actually, I read this one first before that one. So this is Wings of Starlight. I cannot tell you how excited I was for this book. I've been waiting for this for like my whole life. And then when it got announced, I was waiting for it diligently. I was looking it up like every single month, being like, is it out? Because I'm so bad at remembering release dates. And like, when a series comes out, when a movie comes out, I cannot remember that kind of thing. I have to look it up every once in a while to make sure that it hasn't come out yet. And then like a week before it came out, I pre-ordered it. So I got it like the day that it was released, and it was so amazing. I loved it. If you want to read the story of Queen Clarion from Tinkerville and Lord Milori, also from Tinkerville, read this book. It's so devastating, but it's so good as well. Like, it's so romantic. I think this is one of the most romantic books I've ever read. And I'm so serious. And you know what? Lord Milori is kind of like a variant of Mr. Darcy. And I love Mr. Darcy. They're both like real yearners, and I love them. Like, they're the quiet but devoted type. And I love that type. That's my favorite type. So yeah, there's romance in here. There's nonchalant but really chalant. Like, nonchalant only in spirit, because he's very chalant. man. There's kind of nonchalant woman, which is Stan. I love it. There's lesbians. There's fairies. There's magic. I loved it. So good. I finished it in like an afternoon too, because it's really like, it's for kids. So it's really easy to read. And it's so much fun. The end though, the end kind of killed me. We already know the end because it's in the movies. There's no like time skip in this. It's just the past. So we know in the movies, this is a spoiler. If you haven't watched the movie or if you haven't read the book, skip to this time here. Okay, so we know in the movies that they couldn't be together because he is a winter fairy and she's a warm weather fairy. So in this, there is no time skip. It's only like what happens after everything goes wrong. So it's like, bye, and that's the end of the book. But, you know, it's very devastating, but you know that the years are going to pass and they're going to be together again, so it's okay. But here they don't know that. They don't know that they're going to be okay later. So it's really sad, and it made me cry a lot. I loved it. Yes, I don't like love in real life, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to enjoy a good romance, okay? And you'll see, because the books that are coming after this are pure romance. We'll see. Yeah. After that, I read Sunrise on the Reaping. I was so excited for this book because I, of course, grew up reading all of the YA, all of the dystopian fantasy that were really famous in like 2014. I grew up reading like The Hunger Games, Harry Potter, the others. No, wait, let me think. The Maze Runner, Divergent, The Shadow. What was her name? Shadow Hunter. Shadow Hunters. Yeah, Shadow Hunters. I loved Shadow Hunters. You know, all of the ones that we all know. I read all of those. So when The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, I always forget that title, I hope I'm getting it right, came out, I watched the movie first for some reason because I was like kind of disconnected from that side of the internet for a little while, so I didn't even know that there was a new book. So I watched the movie, loved the movie, then I read the book. The book of The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is so good. I think, and this is a hot take, I think, but I believe that is one of the best Hunger Games books, if not the best, because it's so good. I love reading from the perspective of Snow because he's so manipulative, and it's so fun. It's so fun getting to know what his thought process is and how he perceives Lucy Gray, because Lucy Gray is my favorite character in the whole universe of the Hunger Games. I love her. I actually have a poster of her right there. I don't know if you can see it. I don't think so, because it's right next to Andy Samberg and you can barely see Andy Samberg, so yeah, probably can't see the Lucy Gray one, but she's there. Yeah, it was just really fun to read and really like it was just really thrilling. But then this one was announced, and of course I was super hyped. I was so excited, and I pre-ordered it. It's like, it's hardback and everything. ASMR, wait. Hope you like that. And then I got here and I started reading it, and you know, it's about propaganda. That's like the whole thing, okay? So the first, and I'm gonna say spoilers now, so skip if you don't want to listen to the spoilers. Yeah. So the first scene is like the reaping, right? Like the first big scene is the reaping. That was pretty cool. I liked the reaping part because, you know, it was very interesting. It was very unexpected how it all happened. And then we get to the games, and the games, I felt so like disconnected from everything that was happening. From the moment that they arrived to the capital, I kind of like lost all interest. And I think the reason why I lost all my interest in this is because it really felt like it was written for the movie adaptation. And I don't really know how to explain it, but it was just like scene, 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 scene. It didn't really feel like a journey like a book is supposed to be, you know? It just felt like we were traveling from scene to scene, and all of the characters also felt like very, like you're just describing a character from a movie. Like very superficial kind of descriptions and character developments, except for like Hamish, obviously, because it's all narrated from his point of view, so he's a little bit more developed than everyone else. But like, I remember seeing online that a lot of people were like, oh my god, Maisie Lee, I love Maisie Lee. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Maisie Lee is like this and this and this and this. And I remember thinking, what? I did not feel like connected to Maisie Lee at all. And I really wanted to, because she's just the type of character that I would love. Okay, like a little bit fancy, a little bit fabulous. I love those types of characters. And then obviously she dies in the games. The Hunger Games. Obviously she dies in the Hunger Games. But again, people online were describing it as like super devastating and cruel and like horrible. And then I read it, and it was so fast. Like, barely any descriptions of anything at all. I felt like she just died in a paragraph, and that was it. I felt like I was reading the fucking movie script, and it was like, Maisie Lee dies, next scene, you know? Like, I didn't feel anything at all reading the games, because it just felt like it was reading for a movie adaptation, and I hated that because I was so excited for this. But then after the games, it got good again, I think. At least it got a little bit better, you know? When he goes back home, again, it still felt like very fast paced, but it was a little bit better than the games. When he gets back home, and then like the fire, and then Lenore, I don't know how to pronounce her name again, Lenore Dobb, you know, the stuff happens with her. I'm not gonna like be super specific in case like you want to get spoiled, but not too much. Yeah, I liked that part as well. I liked like the start and the finish, but the whole middle part, which was obviously the longest part and the one that you usually want to read the most, the whole like climax, the development, the climax, and like that whole part was just very whatever. Like, I didn't feel locked in at all, and I was really trying, but I felt like the book was not cooperating with me. So yeah, this was just like a very big disappointment for me, which is really sad because I love these books. But yeah, those are all of the books that I have physically with me, sadly. Okay, so all of the books that I have told you about thus far, I read before summer. But in summer, something beautiful happened. I found myself in my apartment for 3 months with nothing to do other than just be creative and free. So I read a lot of fan fiction. A lot of it. And I was debating whether I should include it in this video or not, but I decided to include it because it was some of the best fan fiction I have ever read, and also some of the best books I have ever read. So I'm going to tell you about them. The first one that I read, and the one that started my craziness, was Crimson Rivers. If you don't know, there's a thing called the Marauders. And the Marauders are from the Harry Potter fandom. However, they are not really in the Harry Potter fandom anymore. They are the friend group of James Potter and Sirius Black. James Potter is Harry Potter's dad. But there's like really limited content on them out there in the internet because, you know, J.K. Rowling didn't write about them. But people really liked the concept of that friend group. So they took it and they ran with it. You know, the fans just created their own universe they gave them their own personalities, And yeah, it's really big. And it's really awesome because for people who don't support J.K. Rowling like me, because I hate her because she's transphobic, it's really cool because it's like everything that she would hate. Like, they're all gay. And it's so much fun. And yeah, it's really interesting to me. I started it with Wolfstar, which is the ship name between Remus Lupin and Sirius Black. And that is the biggest ship in the Marauders. And it's also a really big ship, like, worldwide, you know? But there's also this other ship called Jegulus, which is James Potter and Sirius Black's little brother, Regulus Black. Now, at first, when I first started getting into this world, I hated Jegulus. I was like, what? You can't just do that. Like, they've never interacted in the real media, like in the actual books, in the Harry Potter books. They have, like, no reason to be together. But I had forgotten that this is not about the Harry Potter books. This is about gay people. So, I don't know what possessed me, but one day I was like, I'm gonna read Crimson Rivers. You know, I opened that Archive of Our Own page, and I never closed it again. I could not separate my eyes from the screen. It was so good. And if you don't know anything about Crimson Rivers, then I'm gonna tell you what it's about. It's like, it's not a retelling. It's, you know, the person that wrote it, they took the Hunger Games, like the original series, the first 3 books. There's 3 books, right? It's the Hunger Games, Catching Fire, and the Mockingjay, I think. Yes. So they took those 3 books and they rewrote it, but instead of Katniss and Peeta and all of the other characters, now it's James and Regulus and Sirius Black and Remus Lupin and all of the Marauders and the Harry Potter characters. And, you know, it's not exactly the same, but it obviously, like, uses the concept of the Hunger Games, and it uses a lot of the major plot points in the Hunger Games. But it's so good. And it's so long. You know, it covers the first 3 books, and it's longer than that. It's longer than the 3 books. So it's really freaking long. And it's just one book. Like, the fan fiction is just one fan fiction. So I read it in 5 days. And in those 5 days, I took a trip to Portugal with my friend. And I was so, like, into this story that I got extremely stressed. You know, if you don't know how the Hunger Games works, there's reaping, which is where they call the names and they choose who is going to go compete in the Hunger Games, where everyone gets killed except for one person. So in the Hunger Games, the original books, the first book, a reaping happens, the games happen, blah, blah, blah. In the second book, it's like the 75th anniversary or the 50th anniversary, I don't know. It's an anniversary. And the twist this year, this anniversary, is that for this Hunger Games edition, they're only going to be calling past winners' names. And the only winners in the district of Peeta and Katniss are Peeta, Katniss, and one other guy. So obviously, one of them is going to go, or both of them are going to go. And in the end, both of them go. So, in the fanfiction, this is actually like a super major spoiler, so I'm not going to tell you who goes, because for me it was like, so I'm not going to tell you who goes. But it was so stressful. I was so stressed during the whole, like, pre-second reaping and the second reaping scenes that I was staying in, like, a hostel in Portugal, okay? I think it was like 11 p.m. I had to run out of my bunk bed down the stairs of the hostel into the shared bathroom and puke because I was so stressed at the second reaping scene. It was real to me, okay? It was very real to me. And that just continued for the entire length of the fan fiction. It was so stressful. It was so intense. And I was just on the edge of my seat the whole entire time. And it's a really freaking long book. So the whole really long length of it, I was just so scared. But it's so worth it. It's so worth it. And in case you're one of those people that cannot read major character deaths or, unhappy endings, there is a happy ending. And the author says it like all the time. From the start, he's like, don't worry, it's gonna have a happy ending. There is a lot of deaths, obviously, but there's a happy ending. And yeah, it was just amazing. And I think everyone should read it. I know a lot of people don't like it. I know a lot of people really like it. I am one of those people that really like it. And I think everyone should like it because it's really good. And then after that, I read some other ones, some little ones that I did not love, so I did not finish. But I read also some other shorter ones by the same author. One was called like Best Friend's Brother, I think. I read Just Lovers Like We Were Supposed to Be. I read another one called You Signed Up for This. That's by a different author. I did not like that one, but I'm not gonna talk about like their faults and stuff that I didn't like about them because it's fan fiction. So yeah, I like, if you don't like it, you can just not read it. You didn't pay anything for it. So yeah, I just didn't finish those because they weren't like my thing. But then then I read, and there's a poster right here for it, I read The Cadence of Part-Time Poets. And I think this one is like 100,000 words longer than Crimson Rivers. So it's really long. And I read that one in like 5 days as well because I was obsessed. This one is a lot less, high stakes than Crimson Rivers. This is a lot slower as well. And this is not Regulus. Regulus being, in case you forgot, the ship name between James Potter and Regulus Black. This is Wolfstar, which is Remus Lupin and Sirius Black. And it's so beautiful. It's about Remus Lupin, who is kind of like a rebellious kid. He has a really bad relationship with his dad, so his dad sends him to a rich people boarding school in Scotland. And in Scotland, he he has like character development, and his roommates are the rest of the Marauders, so James Potter, Peter Pettigrew, and Sirius Black. And there they meet, they study, they become friends, they do a lot of pranks which are really fun to read. And yeah, the book takes place during, I don't remember, but it was like throughout their school years and then a little bit after they graduate. So it's like a really long time, and it's a slow burn. I remember their first kids being in like chapter 60 something, and I was so ready for it. I was waiting for it for so long, and I remember counting how many chapters I had until that one because I already knew which one they kissed because I had seen it on TikTok. But I was like counting how many chapters were left, like every single chapter that I passed, and being like, please just give it to me. Their first kiss, I will never shut up about their first kiss because it's so perfect. And I'm not gonna tell you how it happens, but there's a song that is playing, and it's a really famous song. So whenever I hear it anywhere, I am immediately transported to that scene, and it's the best feeling ever, and I love it. Yeah. The whole book is written in such a beautiful way. Like, honestly, I think it's one of my favorite writing styles ever because it's really, really like, you just feel connected to it and transported to it so easily. And there's some books that I feel like I have to do a little bit of work to get there. With this one, first word, I'm there. And I remember it so clearly. Like, the first paragraph is about him waking up in an apartment, in a flat, and his t-shirt, like, on his back was sweaty. And I was like, how did she, or they, or he, I don't know who wrote it, how did they think to write that when he woke up, his back was like next, like his back was sweaty and his t-shirt was sticking to it. I just thought that was like such a good thing to write about. I was like, whoa. And that just happens like the entire book, and all of the characters are so well developed, and I think that the author of it just really understands what the characters are like, and they're so good at like giving them distinctive personalities. Because what I see a lot of people do is that they will kind of confuse a little bit some of the traits, like all of the rebellious characters, they will kind of merge together sometimes because they don't really know how to do different types of rebelliousness, or all of the good characters, the same thing happens. Like, they just group them a lot and they kind of mix. But this author does not do that at all. They just know so well how to create different characters that have different characteristics and still have similarities but are still so different from each other, and they just feel so real, and everything that happens to them feels so real. Their relationships feel so real, and it's just so beautiful. I just love it so much. And yeah, I'm sure it's the best fan fiction I've ever read. And it's definitely one of the best books I've ever read. My favorite books of all time, actually, are The Secret History, The Cadence of Part-Time Poets, and Paradise Logic. Yeah, so that's all for my fanfiction talk. I read Big Swiss. Big Swiss, I don't have it, sadly. But I'm gonna put the cover right here because I think the cover is really beautiful. Big Swiss is about a woman who does transcriptions for a sex therapist. I think that is so interesting already. But this woman, she hears, when she's transcribing, a session with the sex therapist and another woman, and she becomes obsessed with this woman that's in the therapy session. She just loves her. Everything just attracts her to the woman in the therapy session. So she begins to stalk her a little bit, find out who she is, because she can't see their faces. She can only hear the audio. And then one day they finally meet in the park. That begins a very interesting relationship. I thought this book was very good. It's definitely not like I wasn't obsessed with it or anything, because it's not the type of book that I would be completely obsessed with, but it's something very different from what I usually read, and I thought it was very, very good. I thought the premise of it was super interesting. Like, a woman that transcribes sexual therapy sessions becomes obsessed with this other woman in the therapy session. I thought that was so interesting. I think the book was really, really good, but it takes the story somewhere where I didn't expect it to take, instead of going the crazy stalker way. I thought it was gonna be more like she's a crazy stalker and she's a psychopath and all that. So I was really excited for that, but then it goes a different way, which is also good, but it was just not what I thought it would be. So I was a little bit disappointed. Still, I was satisfied with what I read, but I would love to see a book where the premise is very similar and it goes the crazy way. After that, I read The Puppy War. This is a very loved book by a lot of people. I don't know what I feel about this book, because I expected it to be really, really good, and don't get me wrong, it was really, really good, but I'm just not sure about it, because there's 3 books in this series. I only read the first one, and I don't know what could possibly the next two be about. And that is partly because I didn't really feel like the characters were thought out enough to carry 3 books. You know, the characters were really interesting, but they were all kind of very surface level. I didn't really get to meet anyone very deeply. Not even the protagonist. You know, Rin, I think she's really strong. She's really determined. I don't know how to pronounce that. And there's some really interesting traits about her. But I feel like every time we got really close to her character, we would just like get pulled back by something, which was a real disappointment for me, because I am a very character kind of person. The thing that I like the most about books are usually their characters. So that was very like, oh, sad. But the book was very good. Like, if you just don't care that much about characters, I think you would love this book. And I did love the book. I just feel a bit weird about it because I cannot connect to any of the characters. But the plot was really good. I think it has a lot to say, especially like about our world right now and our world always. You know, it's a very political book, and it was very like eye-opening. There is one scene in particular that really moved me. There's this part where the protagonist, Rin, talks to one of her, I think she's her ex-classmate, and she was fighting, or she was doing something where a battle happened and the other side won, so she was taken by like the soldiers of the other side. And obviously, you know, men, war, all that stuff always leads to crimes against women. So she was taken to this base. I'm not gonna explain it very in detail because it's really, really violent and horrible. But she goes to like a jail where they only have women, and obviously they get used by the soldiers very, very horribly. And it's just, you know, they describe it just as it is, really explicitly. And it really, you know, I was on the train, I remember. I was on the train when I read it, and I wanted to cry. I hate getting attention on that train because a lot of drunk men get on it. So I didn't want to, like, you know, I didn't want to stand out. So I was trying really hard not to cry. But it was so horrible. And yeah, a lot of the book talks about topics like that. So if you are easily triggered by stuff like that, I think you should not read it. But if you are okay with that, then I do think you should read it, even if you don't love it like me. I didn't like absolutely adore it. I really liked it. I didn't love it, but even then I think it's a really important kind of read. And I think I am gonna read the next 2. I just haven't because, you know, it didn't like end in a way that I was like, I need more, you know. But I'm gonna read the next 2. And then after that, what did I read after that? I think I'm gonna remember more later, and I'm gonna be like, oh, fuck, I should have talked about that one too. But this is the last one that I remember, so it's gonna be the last one that we talk about, okay? So I read If We Were Villains, and I only read it because I've heard from a lot of people that it's very similar to The Secret History, and I love The Secret History. I love it. So I was very excited to read something similar. But something interesting to me was that my sister also read The Secret History and If We Were Villains. And she didn't like The Secret History at all, but she loved If We Were Villains. So I was very curious to see what I would think about it. And at first, I wasn't really loving it. You know, it was fine, but I was kind of confused because there's like time jumps from like present to past, and I didn't understand that at first, so I was very confused to what was going on. And I also didn't know who was the narrator at first, so I was very, very confused. But then when I got that, I was like, oh, okay, and then it was okay. Also, like, for the first 100 pages, maybe, like before the thing happens, you know what thing, like the thing. Before that, I was kind of like, was into it, but I wasn't like super vibing with the characters. I wasn't really like getting the whole, what was it, I didn't know what it was about, and then the thing happens. And after that, very, very quickly, I found myself really invested in everything, which was really cool. I think that experience of being like, I don't really care about what's going on, and then boom, I really care about what is going on, is a very interesting experience. And I didn't expect, okay, spoilers now until here. I didn't expect there to be gay people. And like, I really didn't expect it. So when there were like little hints, I would note it. I would write it down, because I write everything down on the book. But I was like, am I getting played? Is this gonna go nowhere? And then, like, if someone reads this, they're gonna see my notes and they're gonna be like, oh, she's so stupid. This is not what's going on. But then it actually was. I was so happy. And then it's like the whole point of the book is that they're gay for each other. And I love that, because I did not know anything about the book before I started reading it. So I did not expect it at all. And it really like blew my expectations away of what I thought the book was gonna be. And I really loved it. Do I like it more than The Secret History? Not at all. I love The Secret History more than anything. But I thought it was really good. Especially after the thing happens. Everything just kind of like goes down and up and down and up. And it's very, very like, it's very nice. And I really love the characters, actually, in the end, because at first I was really having a hard time connecting with them, but then it was okay. Yeah, so those are all the books that I read last year, I think, maybe. I hope you liked this video. I hope you like the new layout. I hope you like the microphone. I hope the microphone is working, because I don't even know. But yeah, this is fun. I'm gonna make more videos, definitely. And stay tuned for next year's book video, because there's gonna be one. Okay, see you next year. Not really, like see you when I make another video, but see you next year for another book talk. Bye.